I've made this dovetail edged cabinet to the same dimensions as a Fender 5E3. Probably the only difference is this material is a little thicker. I think it's 12mm instead of 9mm. I've recessed into the top panels by about half an inch, and the pieces come down perhaps another 5 or so mil lower, so the actual speaker baffle has more to hang on to, more purchasing ability for that. It's a slightly modified cabinet. The internal dimensions are basically the same. We don't make the chassis for it at a later stage anyway, so there's no big drama. But the thing is just to make it as strong as possible. The actual baffle board, they recommend that it's a 9mm ply. I've gone for ½ inch because I don't think 9mm can really stand up to the heavy speakers, especially heavy 12-inch speakers we have today. I've placed a small amount of this glue tape onto the wood. You can just see it reflecting there, just to show you how strong it actually is. I'll put this on. No heat gun, no other equipment really required. Just give it a good firm squeeze on. As you can see, it doesn't affect the look of the material at all. Now pull it off. Okay, what's it's actually doing, it's stuck to the material and it's sticking to the material, not the wood as it goes. But that's still quite strong. You can hear it there as I'm peeling it off. It actually starts distorting the material. It's on that hard. So if you get it on wrong, it will be wrong. That gives you an idea of how thin also this tissue, double-sided tissue paper is. Very fine, basically transparent, and very tacky. Nice tacky, not too strong tacky. Now we have the completed box with all the tape applied. There might be a few little gaps that need to be touched up later, but generally it's covered fairly well inside and out, so it's ready for the tweed covering to go on, and that'll be the next step. Another good thing about this stuff is that it has a temperature rating of 200 and something degrees Fahrenheit, so I think it's over 100 degrees Celsius, so it's fairly heat resistant as well, especially handy with tube amps. Now when you put the tweed material, setting it up, just make sure that the angle that is going at 45 degrees to the square of the cabinet, so just so things line up perhaps a little bit better than taking it by chance. I've secured the material on that back, or actually it's the front face. I'm just removing the cover off the glue. I can also work my way backwards this way and smooth the tweed on. With all the corners and sides being completed, now I'm not going to go into great detail of how to do the corners because there are other videos which explain it, but if you're lucky, the more you do it, the better you get at doing corners. It's probably best to do the bottom ones first, get a bit of practice in, do the back ones, and then do the fronts, and hopefully it all comes together pretty well. Now with this, I've kind of made a bit of an error in pulling the material over. I didn't quite leave enough to come over the right distance, so I've placed another piece, a thin piece in, stuck it on, and hopefully it's enough to be underneath the piece that goes over the top. All the insides are being glued down, so that's fairly straightforward. just got to be careful when you're using this material is not to stretch it one way or the other, because it will change directions and make like a shadow effect, so you've got to be really careful with that. That one looks pretty good, so that's pretty much right to go for the top piece, which is kind of the trickiest, the simplest but the trickiest, especially to do in here nicely so that it all looks good. The trickiest part of this whole process, I reckon, is cutting along the grain or the thread of the tweed. And what you have to do is find out where it begins and then slowly cut your way through. Do that for quite a few 100mm or inches, and you're left with a nice piece to go over the top, like this. And if you've kept your cutting nicely, it will come over and cover the cabinet quite nicely, and see the corners much more secure there. You can't see where I've had to make the joint underneath there, so that's worked out pretty well. From this, as I'm just doing the bottom first, I've clamped down this using these spring clamps. I've positioned the tweed so that it will fit nice and neatly over the edges, especially the front, and so it matches up with the grain at the front of the cabinet. So it's all right to go, so it's not going to move from there. So I can pull back from the material, undo these, uncover these adhesive strips, and then place the material down. Now to drag the piece of material across over the glued side with my trusty steel ruler. Now it could be said, okay, just making sure this is lining up properly, I should probably glue underneath there, but when you apply the polyurethane or the other, let's say you're using shellac, it will actually soak through this material and glue to itself. So the actual gluing the material to the material probably isn't that important. Friction of the glue will actually, and the binding of it all will keep it together. Doubly making sure at the last second, make sure everything looks okay. I don't want to get this wrong now. So close, and there we have it bound over the edge. And then it'll fold under there because I've put the adhesive tape on the other side of that. Work the material over, and then just actually I haven't removed it on the other side yet, so that's as far as I can go for the moment. That's okay. Then I'll take off the tape on the other side. With the corners, on the internal corners here, you put like a triangular piece. Oops, triangular piece just in there. You can see it on that one as well. That one just more or less work with the grain of that piece of material, and that one to work with the grain there. You can see them both. So it's crunch time, I guess. First piece, get this first one over, make sure it's lined up. Pretty much one shot of this and that's it. Okay, that's down. This one here, make sure it's all lined up, not too badly. And it's down too. Okay, that's down. Then you just work the other pieces through. See on this corner there's a, see how it needs that piece underneath to cover that. What I might do is might stick a bit of tape in under there as well. Let's see how that one goes. Yeah, I think I might try and do that. Just pull that back up a bit so I can get at it. What I'll do is I'll put some tape under there and under there, just to make sure that it's got enough to grip with. Okay, now I've redone these corner pieces a bit more tape on them. Let's see how it goes this time. That's a lot better. Okay. Squeeze these ones in. Give them a trim in a minute. So that's looking pretty good there. These inside corners are never going to be 100%. That's not. I'm pretty happy with that one. That's I haven't done. Well, this is only the second tweed I've ever done, so I'm fairly happy with the result of that. And these ones fold over with a pair of scissors. Just trim that off there. The difference on that one, and that will basically be it, and as far as just making sure these ones are secure as well. And so once that's done, that's how it's going to look. I'm pretty happy with that. In here you can see we've finished the attaching the material on the inside there. Finished the corner there and the other side. Relatively easy to do, just folding it over and then cutting off the edge, off the trim. The back panels in place as they're going to be. And there is the there's the finished product. Pretty happy with the end result now. Hope you will be too. And here's a couple of finished cabinets.